True. All right, cool. So we're on. All right, so I've got my little thing to say.
All right.
Welcome to Profound Experience of Poetry. It's kind of an offshoot of the Profound Experience of Poetry book club, which I've been running since last summer. The book club, if anyone wants to join, meets every second Sunday on Zoom, and we vote on all the books that we read. So far this year, we've read Anne Boyer, Anne Carson, Sappho, Banu Kapil, Alice Notley, and our next book is Greyhound by Aeon Ginsberg, who is here.
That's me.
I'll introduce myself, I guess. I'm Lucy. I am the editor of Profound Experience and also of Shabby Dollhouse. I'm a writer. I wrote some books of prose. If you want to find out anything about that, you just can. I'm currently in a small city in Burgundy in France, where I'm waiting for the pandemic to be over. And my goal for this conversation is just to have some supplementary material for the people in the book club. Also for anybody who wants to know more about your book.
Yeah.
Just so that we can talk about our lives in literature and to have a nice time talking with somebody that I wouldn't talk with otherwise.
Yeah.
So
first time meeting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, my plan or my hope for this is that people can listen and half watch it while they're cooking dinner or folding laundry or painting or whatever they do in their
doing
homes.
Whatever else they have to do with life.
Yeah, multitasking, learning, and yeah. So I'm just happy to be here, and thank you for coming to talk with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
welcome in my Zoom. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Aeon Ginsberg. I am a writer and editor and bartender from Baltimore, Maryland. I wrote this book, Greyhound, which came out in mid-October of 2020, which is both a new experience for me as having my first big book published, and also it's a book publishing during a pandemic where we're not really going out to stores or traveling to do readings or whatever. So it's an entirely new experience that is very divorced from a lot of the content material of the book, which has a lot to do with travel and movement and going from one place to another place. So it's been very fun with I guess a lot of panache on the fun aspect of that. But I outside of my own work, I edit poetry with Peach Magazine. I have done some freelance editorial stuff, and I am chronically on the internet. That's what I got.
Really nice introduction. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Greyhound is the 17th book that we are reading in the book club, and it won the 2019 Noemi Press Book Award for Poetry.
Yes.
And just yesterday was named as a finalist for a Lambda Literary Award in the category of transgender poetry.
Yes, this is very exciting. And very surprising as well.
Yeah, how does it feel?
Weird. I still kind of I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm okay, well, they must have made a mistake. There must be something off. But there's not, and now I have things to do because I know we're still in the pandemic. There's a lot of the award ceremony is going to be virtual, so there's a lot of pre-things we have to do. So I have to pre-record an acceptance speech just in case I win.
No.
So that way, if I don't win, it exists somewhere.
Wow.
But who knows? But if I do, just to have a seamless presentation, they can just hit play on what would be my acceptance speech.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that I think that you should really put a lot of effort into the speech, because they might just pick who has the best speech.
That would be nice. I've been trying to think of, like, since it is going to be pre-recorded, like how far can I go? Like, to what extent? I have 30 seconds. So
Wow.
a lot
I
can
want to
happen.
watch I want to watch everyone's acceptance speeches.
I do too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you like want to win?
I mean, yes. I think winning would be nice. But I feel like, I don't know, it's an accomplishment in its own right, getting in, like, nominated as a finalist. But I at this point I'm like not looking into any of the, like, what happens if you win, like what do you get
Mm,
outside of like a stamp on your book, because
yeah.
if I know, then I'm gonna start like putting eggs in that basket. I'm gonna start thinking about, like, well, what would I do, like with this or that or this. I'm like, well, I don't want to stress about that yet. um they're not gonna announce any winners until June anyways, so
Oh, okay.
it's a lot of time to, like, stress out. So instead, I'm just gonna do, like, I don't know, things like this and readings if I can, and continue to try to get bookstores around me to stock my book for the people who can't come into the store because we're still in pandemic.
Yeah. It's a lot of time to like just, even if you didn't win, you just still have a few months to like flaunt being a finalist.
Yeah.
I think that you can make the most of that.
Oh
And
yeah.
also, aren't you're nominated in, because you're also in an anthology that was nominated too,
Yeah,
right?
We Want It All, which is an anthology of radical trans poetics, is in the I believe trans anthologies finalists, which is really exciting as well. That anthology it's a very fun large brick of a book. Uh, I just got to do a reading with them on this past Thursday, the 11th, for Open Books in Seattle was putting that on. And there's a little like Q&A after with an MFA program in Seattle as well, which is really cute.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I feel like it's nice to have like those kind of generated Q&As after readings nowadays, especially with the Zoom platform. IRL, it just like does not work. Because I
Yeah.
feel like everyone's just like talking over each other anyways. But in Zoom, you can just mute everyone. And, yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, I hope you win for both.
thank you.
And I hope that there's a really um, generous prize.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I hope it's very generous as well.
Um, so I first read your work in 2016 when we published a poem of yours in Shabby Doll House.
Yes.
Although we've never met or talked until
No.
now. So it's been 5 years
Yeah.
leading up to this.
Yeah. I submitted to Shabby
Um,
Dollhouse because of Sarah Jean Alexander.
oh, because she's from Baltimore, and you
Uh,
knew.
yes, I mean, we were in like close enough circles that like
Mhm,
I had learned about Shabby Dollhouse through learning about her and her work. So
mhm.
I was like, oh, this seems like a good magazine. I'll submit to that. And then I've like since, I don't know, we've never met. I haven't like
Yeah.
had much of conversation. So it's fun. I still I look at those poems every now and again and I'm like, this is nice. I like this publication. I'm glad that I got to send poems there.
Yeah, we published I think it's breathing studies, and I think that
Yeah.
was the first one, and then there were another two that I think were like the year later or something, a year later
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah. Breathing Studies had the an artistic collaboration that was really nice as well that you paired with the
Yeah.
work. It was nice.
Um, and I can't remember what I was going to say. Um, yeah, well, I don't know. I was going somewhere with this,
You first
but never
read
mind.
my work then,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
No worries.
No, but I remember that like when we were like going through the submissions, like your last name is Ginsberg, and so obviously that like when you're reading poetry submissions, it's like
Yeah.
okay, and
Yeah.
um, and then like it's like, oh, that's like seems like very bold. I don't know. And
Yeah.
it's just, and then I was like, oh, but the poem's great. So, okay, let's do it.
Well,
Like,
that's good. Yeah. Legal last name. So not by choice
cool.
last name. So no
Oh, wow.
relation
Yeah.
to any of the other Ginsbergs in the world. Or I
Not
guess
apart
like
from,
far enough away that like it doesn't matter.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to know like about how you got into poetry, and like, was it something you've always been doing, or
I think I was
what
a
was your
depressed
journey?
high schooler. I, I did the thing that a lot of us in high school did, where we like had the one poetry section in our English class, and then it kind of felt not easy, but like, oh, this feels like a semi-fulfilling thing to do, to like express the like things I don't have the words to communicate with. So I'll just keep doing this, and then living in the like YouTube era of poetry, and you can just look up and watch other people do their poems, and you're like, oh, this is very exciting, and this is like a viable means of like doing stuff. I should do that. And then I like got very into like spoken word for a while, and did poetry slams for a few years, and then I realized I'm not very good at them. So I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna just focus on like still writing and like publishing. But um yeah, competitive poetry didn't work out for me. So
I don't really know much about like poetry slam, but like it's actually competitive.
yeah,
What
so
are the criteria for winning?
the general like format of like a poetry slam is there is somewhere between like 12 to like 16 people reading their poems, and it's bracketed into rounds where it'll like cut off like the bottom scored people, and the people who judge it are supposed to be 5 people who don't know any of the competing poets, and they just
Hmm.
score it on a basis of like 0 to 10 with one like decibel point, just like differentiate tie break. And ideally, this is supposed to be like fine and good, and like a good merit to like judge things. And like usually it's like comes down to a basis of whether the person is a strong performer, and whether the like content of the work holds in like an argument sort of sense, whether they have convinced you that the thing they're saying is like strong. And then at the end, whoever has the most points wins recognition, sometimes
Oh,
money.
okay.
Like
Yeah.
there's some poetry slams where like when you win it, you get like $500, which is nice. But
So is it
then
like, so is there's like a strong emphasis on there being like a sort of message, or like
yeah, a lot of them are like very much like there's either like an end moral to the piece, or
hmm.
whether you have like finished telling a story that has moved the audience in some sort of way. Um, and like I've still it's been a while since I've watched slam poetry, but like I still think that there's like a lot of merit to the art form as like, I don't know, conveying a thing. It seems like very closely tied to like, protest chants is like, I would say is like a close link. Because you want to like use a short time frame to convey a certain message in a way that is like going to become an earworm for people. So yeah.
And do you think that like has your experience in doing that, like do you think that has left like a big influence on how you write now and like your work?
A little bit. I a lot of times when I'm writing, I think about how it would read and how it would be like heard. Um, I don't really go to like specific forms or functions a lot of the times. It's usually just like, oh, like if I was sitting 20 feet away and someone was saying this aloud, would I be interested in hearing the rest of the things they would have to say? Um, I so nowadays it's like that, but I'm not really like, otherwise I'm not really like writing with the emphasis of performing it, but with the like idea of like if someone was performing it, would it come across okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just having like the experience of performing a lot of times must be helpful also.
Yeah, and I was lucky to have the motivation when I was younger and doing like spoken word stuff to also like be motivated to like contact bands in my area and be like, hey, like when you're doing a show, like can I be on the bill? Can I do my poetry at your rock and roll concert? Um, and so I've done a couple concerts before, which is very fun. Is a very different vibe. Because
Yeah.
like the like concert setting is of course like non-competitive by any sense, but it's still like you want to like captivate the audience, and especially if it's an audience who comes there expecting like musical accompaniment and then it's just you on a
Yeah,
microphone doing your thing. You kind of have to do a little bit more to maintain that kind of connection. So I would do,
truly.
I mean, I am only one body and one person, so I would do stupid things like take the chair that is missing a leg and like stand on it and like it's off balance a little bit, and it's like you might not be focusing on what I'm saying, but you are focusing or if I'm gonna fall.
Wow, nice
um,
technique.
it sometimes worked and it sometimes was just silly. um,
Did you, so you like knew that even from being quite young that like you did, because a lot of people like I think just think, okay, well I'll do music. And then maybe like for me,
yeah,
like I was like, I'll make some music and I'll do that. And then I kind of realized I don't really want to perform like this. I don't like it's just easier to do writing because you don't need the equipment, you don't need like
yeah,
as many people involved, and you can just kind of do it quietly by yourself. But
yeah.
you would just like, no, I'm gonna like do my poetry
Yeah,
at the gig.
I'm just gonna do my poetry at the gig. Yeah. I mean, I have no musical talent. I played drums a little bit and like I can maintain a beat on a set of drums, but I'm not talented in that right in any sense. And I like very quickly learned like, okay, this isn't for me. But like the writing thing still kind of works. And like some people like it, so and I like it, so that kind of is what matters. I think at the end of the day. It's the thing
Yeah,
I can do that uh, I don't put myself down on it as much as everything else I do.
yeah.
No,
What what does it feel like? I mean, I agree that with what you just said, which is like that as long as you like it and as long as you're having a good time, like that's not even
yeah,
necessarily a good time, but like it's that's the most important thing. But how do you
yeah.
feel about like winning a prize and like being nominated for like awards and stuff and
It's
like kind of,
nice.
and also like having your book out and like finding like
Yeah,
more readers and stuff like just
it's nice. It's hard. I would say. I mean, at a certain point, um, because we exist in this kind of like capitalist world, like even if you don't want it to be that way, like I think about like okay, like I have to like email these bookstores to try to see if they'll maintain my stock, because if it's there, then it's more likely it'll get a second pressing. And then if I run through the first pressing, then I get royalties, and like that kind of thing on the back end feels a little shitty. I'm not really as enthused by that. But I mean, it's nice. It's nice to like, I don't know, get nominated for awards. It's nice to have recognition. I mean, what is it, the like wanting to be known but the like scariness of being perceived, something like that. There's memes about it, somebody will get the connection. um but yeah, I just like it's nice, but I'm not like banking on it. I'm not in poetry to win. i'm
yeah.
I'm in it because this is the thing I feel like I can contribute most with my time. I can like this is the thing for it. Uh, and you know, if someone sees what I'm trying to contribute to the world and is like, this is nice, I'd like to put my stamp on it, and I'll be like, okay, nice, cool, nice.
Yeah.
um,
um so with Greyhound, what how how long did it were you working on that book and like how did it come to be what it is?
I had the first thought of like I should do a kind of like book about Greyhound buses. Like Greyhound bus line is, I'm not sure if it's an exclusively North American thing, but it's essentially like a transit line between cities, you know. For
Oh, I'm
anyone
very
who is
familiar.
unfamiliar of
Yeah.
bus lines that take you from one city to another. But I was taking a lot of them because I would go on these like reading tours, but I can't drive and I can't afford trains and I can't afford planes really. If I could, it would be like, okay, I can take the plane out there and the plane home, but like in between, I'm like hitching rides, I'm getting on buses, I'm doing what I can to get from one city to the next. So in like 2015, 16, I had the thought like, oh, I should do something with this. Like I spend a lot of time in these spaces. Like there's something here probably. And if there's not, it could be funny. Uh, and then over the course of like then to now, it generated into like, oh, like these bus lines, these like travel lines are the things that most connect me to my like gender identity and presentation, the way I think about like my body and how it is perceived as like an object in movement. Um, so it became what it is currently, probably closer to like 2018. And before then, it was mostly just like trying to pinpoint what that movement looks like what it could be.
Um, I this sounds like a weird direction I'm taking this in. I don't have Twitter anymore, but when I was thinking about your book, I remembered that I tweeted like some years ago, something like I feel like a deep kinship with anyone who travels to a poetry, either to give or attend a poetry reading by Megabus.
Yeah.
And because it's just like something I have also done a lot in because I used to live in Toronto and I would like always be going
Right.
to like New York or Montreal or
Right.
Baltimore or whatever, like, and I can drive, but I just like never really considered doing it. I didn't have a car, but like
Yeah.
I guess I could have rented one, but like yeah, they would be really, really expensive, and I like don't want the
It's a whole thing.
responsibility of
I
like.
did like one car tour,
Mm,
and it was nice. I have complicated feelings on it now because of uh, how it has presently affected me, which is the most I feel like legally I should say. But it was fine. I don't know. I felt
yeah.
it was missing a lot of the qualities of like being at the gig and then checking your watch and being like, oh, my bus is at midnight. I have to go. um, yeah.
Yeah, I've done one reading tour in a car, like a couple of other people were driving.
Yeah.
Uh, I've also done one where we just went by bus between the places, and also just like a lot of. I like also I was in a really scary plane, like well, just a
Yeah.
plane that like seemed like it was going to crash a few years ago, and it
Oh,
was fine.
geez.
Well, it wasn't fine. It like it like diverted and like landed somewhere else or whatever.
Yeah.
It was anyway. But ever since then, that like I already used to take a lot of buses and stuff, but like since that, I was like, anything that I can do that's like not going on a plane, I'll like do the overland version.
Yeah.
So since then, I've like done so many more like uh plane and train journeys, and I just like really enjoy like the experience is just so much nicer. And I used to
Yeah.
think like I remember like when I was younger, I uh lived in Montreal as well for a while, and like I would go to New York on the bus, and it's like 8 hours. 8 hours
Yeah.
now seems like nothing to me, but at the
Oh,
time it
yeah.
was like eight hours on a bus, like oh. And I used to think like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. It's like so like
Yeah.
I don't know, just like
What's the longest bus you've ever been on?
probably like I've got a few. uh, Probably only like 14, 15 hours.
Where?
Nothing like I mean I've done like journeys that like once went from like Croatia to like Paris,
Okay.
which took like a few days, but obviously
Yeah.
that like it was broken up with like sleeping in different cities in the between.
Right.
But yeah, I've done a lot of like overnight. I did one in Vietnam, like from Hanoi to like Hue, where it had these little like sleeping pods.
Oh wow.
They were just kind of like these like flat shelves that you like lay down on and you like couldn't
Yeah.
sit up. That was weird. And I've done from Berlin to Paris loads of times.
Yeah.
That's like what I feel like generally people like if you tell people that you take the bus from Berlin to Paris, they're like, what? Like you can even that's a thing? Like you can fly in an hour and it's like, yeah, but you know, the bus is like 30 euros and like
Yeah. It's
just
cheap
one
and
night.
it's nice, and I don't know, you
And
get to like,
you can bring as much stuff as you need to bring. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. What about you? Long journeys?
28 hours,
Oh,
start to finish, one bus. That
wow.
was between Salt Lake, Utah to Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Wow. And it's one
They
bus that is direct from the
one bus, they stopped for gas and they like dropped people off, but like I
yeah.
didn't get off of that bus. It went like
What it
all the way across like Colorado, Nebraska, like up through Minnesota.
like where do you think the bus is beginning and ending?
I have no clue. I would hope there. I would hope that like they don't have to keep going.
Seems like a
Yeah,
really like you wouldn't usually think of those as like places that a lot of people from here want to go over there. Like
yeah. I
but
mean, it was a weird route. I mean a lot of people like switched off in like Wyoming and Nebraska, but then I was unsure of like why who from Wyoming is going to Minnesota? Like where are we? But I mean,
yeah.
I'm someone from Maryland who is in Wyoming going to Minnesota, so it's, six of one, half a dozen of the other. Um,
Yeah. The people on the bus, like that's like a big part of it as well. Like you definitely just
you see a lot of
like
people.
you see people and you think like, oh, I think people who don't take the bus like know that these people exist or something.
Yeah,
It's like a different world.
yeah,
Yeah, like people who are just like, yeah, I just go on the plane. I'd rather go on the 1 hour plane. It's like you don't really get anything out of that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I think it's like really cool to like have
yeah,
a book about this because I like have done this a lot too. Um, and yeah, also like the thing of like going to the reading or going to a different city to do a
right.
reading. I think yeah, like it's when you're writing, you were writing on buses, right?
Yeah, on buses or like in terminals, waiting for like buses or trains, and then like, refining it wherever I was staying at the time. But yeah.
Would you like get your laptop out on your knee?
Yeah, a laptop or a notebook and like jot something down. I very rarely do like phone notes. I find it really hard to
Mm,
like remember that I have made a phone note to look back at
yeah,
later. Um, but yeah, I wedge my laptop out from between my legs to like sit up to like type on the bus seat. Because of course I'm on the bus for like however many days and I'm like got a couple bags and they're all like next to me and I'm like scrunched up.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's funny like how your experience can like very quickly change from like I have two seats and it's like very luxurious
Yeah.
and then somebody gets on and sits like right next to you
Yeah.
and they like have really like smelly food or something and you're like oh now it's a different time for the next few
Yep.
hours.
Yeah, or like, oh, it's an overnight bus. I can catch a couple of Z's. And then someone gets on the bus and then they're like having a time and they're very loud about it, whatever time they are having, which is stressful. And then I'm like, well, I don't think I'm gonna sleep now. I'm gonna like stay
Yeah,
awake because this person is having a time.
yeah, I like I mean you can't really like talk about the experience of like going on buses and stuff like without like it's like very precarious as well at times,
Yeah,
especially if you're by yourself. Like,
yeah.
um,
And
there,
that's
def-
what influenced a lot of like the book is like the precariousness of like wanting to, I don't know, me wanting to express myself in whatever kind of identity I was feeling at the time. but also being like, okay, for safety's sake, I need to like cocoon a little bit. I need to like not have that be my like front facing personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely been in situations where somebody is like being like sort of creepy or like predatory, and you're like, what do I do? Like I'm in like a tin box.
Yeah.
Like how, and you're like, oh, everyone's asleep. Like nobody
Yeah.
seems to like, like, should I like alert the driver to something? Should I just like wait for this? And then you just kind of like, well, this is like awful.
Yeah, this
Nothing
is
like,
just, I'm just in this box with whoever. And I
yeah,
don't know, when it's not happening near you or around you, it's easier to like put your shutters on and not see it. But then I don't know, when you're more directly impacted, it's I don't know, it's scary. It could be very scary. I've only been on a few buses where the driver has had to stop to like put someone off of the bus. It's very
yeah.
rarely happened, but it also only happens when they are like trying to fight the driver. So
Yeah, I was on
um,
one once. I think it was like between like New York and Baltimore, or maybe a boat bus.
yeah,
And someone just like started yelling about like, I, I remember like I didn't feel scared, like although it sounds scary, someone was yelling about like having a knife or something.
yeah,
But it didn't feel like, oh, they're gonna, I don't know, it didn't feel like they're
yeah.
gonna
It just
start
felt like, oh,
murdering everyone.
this is here.
Yeah. And then the driver just like stopped the bus and was just like, he was like in his like 60s or something, and he was like,
Yeah,
I have been driving a bus for 40 years and nobody talks to me like this, and he just like removed the person. Like they just had to leave, and then they were just
yeah,
left there, and it was like, okay, thanks.
yeah. All right.
um yeah,
Yeah,
there's something, yeah, I like, there's also like something like liberating about, or like just like it's just a strange like place where that feeling where they like stop the bus in the middle of the night and you like pull into like some rest stop, and you go into like this sort of empty like I don't know what they called, like welcome area or whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're just like wandering around and everything's closed and everyone's kind of quiet, and it's
yeah,
like, I mean, maybe I'm just like being nostalgic because we haven't done anything for like a year, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, wow, that sounds great. I
It
really want
sounds so
to
nice.
wander around a rest stop at night.
Yeah, I really want to stop at a gas station at like 2 in the morning, to get like a juice, and no one's speaking to each other, and you just shuffle back onto the bus and try to get comfortable again.
Yeah. Oh,
Bring me
wow.
back.
Yeah. And then the weird feeling where you like arrive in the morning or
Yeah,
whatever. Usually it feels like you arrive in the morning.
yeah,
I always used to like take like an overnight bus from like Toronto to like New York or sometimes Baltimore. And it was just like, well, of course I would get on at like midnight, and then I can, or like even like 9 p.m. or
yeah,
something, then I can arrive the following morning and I haven't like wasted any time I could be doing other things
yeah,
in like travel. But there's that strange feeling where you like come off the bus at the end and you like walk down the steps and you're just like, ah, like I'm
yeah,
back in the world.
yeah. Where do I go? Yeah,
Yeah,
I always think
it's
like,
like
oh,
really
I'll get there
bright.
early and then I can spend time with my friends. And it's like, oh wait, no, they're gonna be sleeping. Yeah, they have their lives to do. And now I have to figure out, okay, well, where is the coffee shop I could sit in for 4 hours while I wait to figure out what I'm going to do with my life?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
you like did this, so
Yeah, I mean, I did that with my life. Yeah.
well, yeah. Um, but I like how in the book it starts out like being about you, like, and about being on the buses and like your experience, and then like by the end you kind of like, do you like explicitly say like it's not just about me, and you like start talking
Yeah.
about like
Yeah, I
the
mean,
government and the police
there
and
there is a very like particular point in the book where I'm like, no, this like I can't be selfish and write a book about myself anymore. It like I have to think about other people, which I like
So
had been, but you know, in the narrative of the story, as it
did
were.
something like happen in your actual life that like made you think that, or was it just like a gradual like conclusion you came to?
I would say it was a gradual conclusion. I like had been writing for a while at that point, and then I got to the point where like continuing with like this project, I was like, oh, if I want to make this like a book, like I have to make this accessible to everyone, or like maybe not everyone, but at least like speak to a larger audience and not just speak about like my own personal experiences. Because even like the broader experience is something that I am a part of, and even like my personal experiences, other people can relate to in whichever way they can. But it just got to I got to a point where I was like, no, like I need to like take a back seat on like my own journey, and like let a bigger thing be a part of it. The bigger thing that was already there come to the forefront. And
Yeah.
of course, like living in the last like decade, a lot of things happen globally and like nationally to like spark those kind of ideas and thoughts. But and so like that's going to influence where I come from in speaking about it. But uh, I didn't want it to be like disingenuous. I didn't want to like write this book and be like, and here's my like moral compass and like I'm right
Right.
and like whatever. And I wanted to like set up a basis, or like the way I edited it or worked with my editor to edit it. Uh, it made sense to like set up a basis for the reader to understand me, to then understand like what I'm trying to tell the reader. Um, I don't know. It's easier to like listen to someone's ethos when you know who they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. So have you, okay, it's hard to tell, I suppose, because of not doing like readings in real life and stuff like that, but do you have a
Yeah.
sense that like that people relate to those like two kind of like parts differently, or like is there one that like do people respond to the stuff that's about you in the same way that they respond to the stuff that's about everybody?
Mm, I think they come at it differently. I think there is a lot of like a segmented feeling to the book, where I find a lot of people like really note that like tonal shift, um, which is nice because I, you know, tried to make it that. Um,
Yeah.
but then I have hope that when people read it, they like finish it and then they're like, oh, that tone was present. It just like was conveyed in a different way. I don't know. It's like it is connected. It's one fluid thing. You know, you can't like
Yeah.
cut a piece of water in half. It's just water. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely feel like the ways people relate to like the first half of the book is different
Hmm.
than the way they relate to the latter half. Um, yeah,
But yeah, I think that it's so true though what you said that like you it, you you have to like get to know who you are from the first part so that
yeah,
you then do you trust like okay like I like respect this person's like experience and like knowledge about how society
yeah,
works and how they move around in it and then like then I can um like believe it and
right,
just like
yeah.
so I
I
think it's a really cool structure.
thank you. Yeah, I was in the like editorial process. I was recommended to read Descent of Olette, which y'all just read for your book club.
Yeah.
And I'm almost done. I'm almost there. Uh, I haven't finished a single book in the last year, but I'll get there. But I feel like it tells a similar kind of story where like the first half you have to understand the world that the speaker's living in, and then the second half you have to understand the speaker and their place in it, and then it kind of shifts again where it talks about these like much larger ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about if you'd read that book, because they do feel kind of connected,
Yeah.
but that's just a coincidence. We didn't like plan to read a book that was like set on the subway
Yeah,
and underground, and then
a book on buses. Yeah, no,
I think it
it felt
must be
really
like
neat. It felt really neat to see it
yeah.
happen. Yeah. And it
I think
feels the copy that I am reading, which is also just on my desk right now, has,
hmm,
let me find a good page, has a lot of annotations from my friend Rebecca Teish, where it's like it's hard to
wow.
read because their handwriting is just a little atrocious, but it's great, and I feel like they'll be fine with me saying that. But
Yeah.
it reminds me of that, like you're at the reading with your friends, and then afterwards your friend tells you like this thing they're recommending in a way that is very much in their voice, and I like got recommended this book, and now I get to see their chicken scratch all over the pages and like the thoughts that they were having while they read it, and it's really nice. So
Yeah. Wow, cool. Yeah, now that you've mentioned that book, like I'm really seeing that they feel like they're like in tandem with each other a little bit, even though I guess you hadn't actually read it before you wrote this one,
yeah,
which
which
is
is
probably good.
cool. I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like that's neat.
yeah. And I feel like it's kind of it's like the people in the book club, like we really want to travel, but we want to like travel like in like really because it's like still the pandemic, it just feels like,
No.
oh, we can travel in like an underground subway, like through a sort of like hellish place, and we can go like on really like a really long bus journey in a book. Like it's not
Yeah.
like we're not like reading about like tropical like paradises or something, which is like reading um
Hard
yeah.
journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you is it, I mean, obviously you like miss
Oh
motion
yeah.
and like moving
A
around.
hundred percent. Every single day. And I had like a kind of a double whammy of sorts where like we're in this pandemic and we can't really like travel from place to place. And before I mean like even a little bit in the pandemic, I'm an avid like I bicycle places, so I would go like 20, 30 miles a week, like to see friends or like pick up groceries or what have you. And I did a little bit of running, just like to keep moving and staying in motion. And then I had surgery, and then I
Ah,
couldn't bike and I couldn't run. And now I still can't really run, but that's a stamina thing. And I'm like
right,
trying to like get that back going. So it feels like I kind of am relearning movement again, which is
right.
fun. And I can't wait until I relearn it in the like bus journey and I get to finally see the people in my life that are important again.
Yeah. Um, I mean, same.
Yeah.
But I yeah, in the I also run, so I was like interested in at the end of the book, like you talk about running cross country and
Mm,
like and I like that. Like and yeah, I like that obviously the book is like called Greyhound and it's a lot about bus journeys, but I like noticed that in the like acknowledgements you do reference like other bus companies, which is nice. But
yeah.
you also say like about do you say somewhere about like running and cycling and stuff and like
Yeah. Yeah.
just like general
General movement.
motion?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which yeah is
Yeah.
we that's something that I like feel that I have um like yeah I was like probably taking for granted a bit before like you because you could just like go on a plane or go on a bus like really far away,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now it's like oh like if I can like run like a few miles or walk or like cycle
Yeah.
to somewhere like
It's different.
that's yeah I'm
It's
like
different,
amazing.
refreshing. Yeah. And like I mean, part of the reason I miss buses so much is I miss the feeling of coming back home. And I miss like being far away and then like thinking about, okay, when I get back, like these are the things I can do in the space I'm familiar in. And it's like it's a refreshed experience. But now I'm like home all the time. And so it's like, where is the farthest point I can go to
Yeah.
be able to come back home again?
Did you grow up in Baltimore?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes. I'm born here, and then I spent like 6 or 7 years in Lehi, Utah, which is like a very tiny town. Um, Parents got divorced. My mom moved me and my sibling out there, and then because of like custody stuff, we came back to Maryland, and then have been here ever since. I've only ever like really lived here in like a formative sense. I have like some memories of Utah, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought there was like something interesting like the end of the book, like in the acknowledgements, which feels like still part of the book to me.
Yeah.
I, you like say that you like this feeling of coming home to Baltimore, and like that's like you want to like convey that as much as talking about like enjoying moving around to other places and
Yeah.
stuff.
As much as like leaving is good, but leaving is good because the coming back feels good. I feel like that's a big part of motion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, this isn't about me, but just just like
What about you?
um
Tell
I feel
me.
like in my I like never really like have like felt like that about a place, like, oh, I like it here
Yeah.
and I want to stay. And I've like lived in a lot of different places,
Hmm.
and I feel like for me it's like where am I going to go next, like
Yeah.
where can I like fit, like what's a good like home, what would that be like?
Yeah.
um and so I think that's really interesting, like I like that you feel like you have this like center the way you like want to go back
Yeah.
to. Oh, and another thing I wanted to ask you is some of the book is in, well, there's like a brief reference to being in Germany.
Yeah. I
And
did
I
a
just,
residency in Hamburg, at Villa Magdalena K, which is in the St. Pauli district. Um, and I was there for 2 months and took the Flixbus a couple times.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I take. I used to live in Berlin, so like
Yeah.
the Flixbus, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it wouldn't have the same ring to it to call the book Flixbus,
Yeah. It probably
even if that
wouldn't.
was even if that was like your primary experience.
Yeah.
Also, their like branding is like bright green and orange, like it would be
Yeah. It's
ugly.
very brash. Yeah.
Um, so some of the book you wrote like in residencies and stuff.
Yeah. In I did like some writing retreats in like 2015 to 17. But then I started thinking about like why am I just doing writing specific retreats when I don't know, poetry is an art form, writing is an art form. Why don't I sign up to try to do artist retreats? And so I did the one in Hamburg, and while writing this book, and also I guess this was the last big one I did. I did one in Wassaic, New York, which is like upstate by the Hudson, like a couple like 3 hours north of New York City. I can't quite remember. Um, but yeah, and those were really fun because it was like, oh, I have studio space. I have a lot of room to do this thing that like technically speaking, I don't need the room for, but it
Yeah,
gave me a renewed perspective on like, oh, like I am doing this big thing. I can spread out about it.
yeah.
Which is nice. I don't know. I feel like more writers should do artist retreats. I feel like
Yeah,
it's a
I
little
think
worth it too, because like a lot of writing retreats are like a weekend long and they're like $2,000. And it's like, well, half of that I'm going to be like flying out or taking the train or the bus to get there. And then I'm going to be really stressed out to like get something good out of it. And then it's Monday and I'm home again.
yeah,
Just
that
stressful.
sounds impossible.
Yeah.
I think that like in I don't know about, well, in Berlin at least, and probably in Hamburg too, like it feels like in Germany there's like a lot more like integration between like people doing writing, people doing performance, like dance,
Yeah.
like it's just kind of like all the same, and like it
Yeah.
doesn't feel,
You're just kind of doing
if you
whatever.
if there's an event, like there might be like someone showing a move, like a film, and then there's like someone like doing
Yeah.
a reading, and then someone like plays some kind of weird instrument, and everyone's just like great, and just
Yeah.
sort of accepts it. But it's
Yeah.
not really like that everywhere. Um, Also, I wanted to ask you like about dogs.
Yeah.
um, I like I like how there was like someone who's in the book club said that like it's someone who's from Ireland
Hmm.
who didn't know about Greyhound, the bus company,
Yeah.
told me that like when they ordered the book and started reading the first few pages, they were like, "Oh, this isn't a book about dogs."
Yeah, it's not.
But
There's
but then
reference.
yeah. So this was before I'd read any of it. So I was like, oh yeah, well no, but then I read it and I was like, well, there are some dogs.
A little bit, yeah.
um, yeah. So I just wondered, like, what's your feeling about dogs?
I like dogs a lot. I uh, am currently not in a position in my life where I'm capable of like having one. I tried adopting a dog recently. I got a dog from a shelter, and it almost worked. It almost really worked out for the two of us, but it's just one of those things where it was just like circumstances got in the way, and I ended up having to rehouse her, which was very sad, and I still feel very bad about it. But I have like an endless respect and fear for dogs. I'm like, you're just magical. You're just nice. I don't know. I They have a lot of capacity for good in the world. I grew up around like retrievers. So I have like some youth experience around dogs. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of pit bulls in America, and I see a lot of them, and they're all very cute. They're like little cows. How can you not like them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I I also really like dogs and
yeah,
have been trying to get one, but it's trying to adopt one, but it's like there's so difficult now because so many people have been like like everybody wants a pet now because they can't do anything.
yeah.
So it's like there aren't enough. But I mean, which is good for the
Which is
dogs, but
great. It's nice because they have homes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. That's like not really super relevant to the book, I guess.
yeah. Well, I
I
mean,
I
somewhat. I mean, it's Greyhound mostly about the bus line, but also about like if you think about like Greyhound dogs, a lot of them are bred for racing, bred for movement, which is not something I like really speak about in the book, but it's
mm,
something that I thought about, that kind of like movement and running and motion in a very like contained sense. Because a lot of my own movement has felt very contained in like a small circle. So it's present in a like referential way, but I've never been around like Greyhound racing, so I didn't want to like try to write about it.
yeah,
Feel
yeah.
like vastly unqualified.
It would just be like really bizarre.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit.
um, um, yeah. And have you thought about like, or have you tried to make any like contact with like Greyhound, the company, to like say like I wrote this
Yeah,
book, and
I've
any
tried to get
response or?
sponsored. The most I've gotten is their general like email account has sent me back like, oh, you're a Greyhound account member. Like here's a 5% off your next ticket.
Well,
And it's like,
yeah.
cool. I would have probably gotten that email anyways. No,
Right.
it would be fun, but I feel like both the pandemic's existence and also
Yeah.
that the size of their company makes it a little bit
Yeah.
difficult to like get any like actual response.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I don't know how you could, or if there would even be any point.
Yeah.
But maybe you could like contact like their like competitors and
Yeah. That's
suggest
it.
like I could write a Bolt Bus book if you you like
Yeah.
give me an incentive.
I could do a megabus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be the second edition to Greyhound and it would be a double decker.
Yeah. There's like some potential, but I don't know
There's
really
something
if it's,
there. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you like also like there's you could like potentially try and do like a reading on a Greyhound,
Yeah, that'd be fun.
but I don't know, like you might be end up being
If I
thrown
get
off the bus.
if I get like enough people to buy tickets so that we fill the whole bus with just people to attend a reading, that's
Yeah.
possible. But I feel like the likelihood of someone who would not be a part of it just like happening to have a ticket for it might not work out.
I guess if you could like find a like a particular journey that's not that long, say it's like 1 hour long or something,
Yeah.
and then you somehow like somehow you if you the tickets are say the tickets like $5,
Yeah.
you could like raise the money to buy every single ticket on the bus, and then you could sell the tickets. Like once you have them, you can sell them to other
Yeah.
people, and then it doesn't matter if like it's full.
Yeah.
You would just get
There
like a great make a video and like
This is a great segue, sort of, between there used to be a bus between Baltimore, Maryland and Ocean City, Maryland. And Ocean City is one of those tourist towns where it's like they have like their boardwalk strip where there's all the like the arcades and the whatnot and like I don't know, your airbrush t-shirts and miniature golf.
oh yeah.
Just like one of those kind of towns. There used to be a bus between Baltimore and Ocean City that was about like it was like 2.5 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. Um, but I did have been joking for a long time now that well, at first before the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my book release party at this place called Secrets. And Secrets is a bar in Ocean City where there is the owner illegally built a sandbar and filled it like with water so that people could just like get in the water to like have their margaritas and just like be swimming there. Um, and
Wow.
it's a trashy place. The idea is very funny to me to like have a poetry reading at Secrets in Ocean City, Maryland. But now that the Lambda nomination happened, I said if I win, I'm gonna have a party at Secrets. I'm gonna rent it out. So
Wow. Nice.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I hope you win and I hope that like I
I
can
hope it
travel
happens.
because I want
Yeah.
to come.
Yeah, it's a wild place. The entirety of Ocean City is wild. My last job before the pandemic started, every now and again, some people would come in late at night and they'd have their drinks and they'd talk. And um, some of them were from Ocean City and they'd talk about like old gossip from like the 80s and 90s from the city. And they would talk about like all of the illegal activity that happened there, and like the ins and outs of like oh, this person like, oh, he did such and such. And like Ocean City is like one of the primary importers of like this thing in the world,
Ah,
this illicit thing.
wow.
And so it would be fun to just be like in my like little cocktail bar, just like not listening, kind of listening, just like ear to the wall, just like,
Yeah.
wow, this place that's like so close has such a history I will never learn. And
Wow.
so many people who just like visit it for a little while won't learn either. Um, but it's fun, it's funny, it's a very funny place to exist in.
Might be a interesting thing to write another book about.
Potentially, I'm sure somebody can, I'm not sure I can.
See how the
Yeah,
party goes and
yeah,
what
let's see how
happens
the
that
party
night.
goes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I think that maybe by the time you win the Lambda Award, like maybe some parties will be able
It's
to happen. I don't
possible.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
cool. I hope so.
fingers crossed.
Um, it would be a shame. It would be, and also it'd be a nice like it would be nice to actually be able to have like a real life
Yeah,
launch.
release thing. Yeah, I we had a Zoom reading with a couple of Noemi authors when the book came out, which was nice. But it nothing beats the in-person experience, particularly for when it is over. And because I
Yeah.
find that that's the best part to me is no one's performing anymore. You don't have to have any airs about you. You can just talk with your friends about how they enjoyed the thing or anything else, but they're just there to relax with you, which is nice.
Yeah, and that's usually when you make new friends, when you meet people
Yeah.
and
And it's
uh,
oh, I brought this person here, and they're oh, I loved this, or I thought this was really cool. It's I've never met you before. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one good thing on Zoom readings, there is the nice part where you're okay, it's finished. Close the
Bye.
computer and
Yep.
that's great.
I love that. I really do love that. You close the
But I agree
computer
that
and then you just get back in bed and you roll over and fall asleep. It's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would rather go to a bar and
Yeah.
celebrate. But
yeah, a bar or a bookstore or whatever, just something where I don't know, you're just around your people is nice. I feel like there's been so many things that people have wanted to celebrate in the past year, but just circumstantially we can't. And so it's hard to have those. I mean, it's been a year, so everyone has had a birthday at this point.
yeah.
So I don't know,
Right.
if you're somebody who celebrates birthdays, then you have had to figure out a new way to do it.
Yeah.
I know, a lot of lived experiences in the last year.
Truly.
Yeah.
Today is the 1 year anniversary of the first lockdown in France.
Yeah.
So I guess it's everybody's been saying it's 1 year since the World Health Organization announced that it was a pandemic or whatever, and it was okay, that's an anniversary, but that didn't really
Yeah.
I don't know. Whereas today it's okay, yeah, it's a real year.
Yeah. Yesterday was 1 year of my last shift before getting furloughed and then put on unemployment.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And have you been back to work since?
nope, I literally just got a job last week. I'll start
Oh.
at the end of the month, and there are things I'm excited about it. I will say I am only qualified at this point to do food service, to do hospitality. So it is re-entering that field with the knowledge of I'm probably never going to show up to work without a mask on ever again. Thinking about prior to COVID being a widespread problem, the amount of times people would come in and they're talking to their friend, but they don't want to sneeze at their friend, so they turn their head and they're facing me, and then they sneeze, and it's well, now I'm here and I have your sneeze on me. So it'll be a lot of relearning that, but the place I'm going to be working, they told me in the interview that they're not going to be serving anyone indoors until everyone who wants to be vaccinated is vaccinated. So at the very least, I have that going for me, for myself and my coworkers, is be able to get that going, which is not foolproof, but it's something.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully you can get vaccinated soon.
Yeah, ideally. I've signed up, but I just need someone to tell me that I can.
Yeah. It's really different here because nothing's open. We haven't had restaurants or bars open since the end of October. They opened over the summer and then they shut down again. So it's not no one can make their own decisions about a certain restaurant can't be we'll have this policy or whatever. It's just everything's shut.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Yeah, it's weird in Maryland, especially because the governor here is harassing everyone to open up, and how there needs to be kids inside of schools again, and he doesn't really care if they're vaccinated or not. and then it's up to like individual like mayors of cities to be like, no, we're not
Yeah.
doing that. It's not safe. It's not
Wow.
worth it.
Yeah.
And like they just lifted a lot of restrictions for like dining inside for the state. Um, particularly like right before like the St. Patrick's Day celebration, which is so divorced from whatever meaning it had once in the world. But
Mhm.
because like most people around Baltimore City will congregate within the city to like do that kind of like celebrating. The mayor had to be like, no, we're like not going to do that. We're like not going to open up like that to have like a bunch of people come out, whether they're vaccinated or not, to like have their little party and then go home. Especially because I mean, there's just such a hoo-ha with the government right now here. It's every day I wake up and I have a new thing to have a headache about, which is so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's like
it's
the same everywhere.
yeah,
I don't like agree with like the way that any like government that I'm aware of has like handled the situation.
yeah,
But at the same time, I like don't really know what. It's not like I have a plan.
yeah. I
So,
mean,
uh,
there's like the utopic plan of like, okay, well, no one goes to work. We don't think about money anymore. Like people just are housed and they're fed and they're fine. But
yeah,
then you pitch that idea and someone's like, well, what about such and such? And it's like, well, people deserve things. Like people deserve safety. I don't know what you want me to say.
yeah.
Yeah. Like
Even
no government is good.
yeah,
I'll
I
come out and
agree.
say it.
Um, that's gonna be like the
Yeah.
if I like make a post about this, like that can be
Yeah,
the
I'm gonna get canceled.
headline.
Can't wait.
I feel like it's pretty uncontroversial.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess like this, you said that like you haven't like found it, you haven't been able to concentrate on reading, which I think is
Yeah.
like difficult for me anyway, like at the best of times. But what about writing? Have you like been able to do that during this past year?
A little bit. It started, I like thought I had so much time in the beginning, like so much time to read, so much time to write. And
Yeah.
I got some stuff out and then out of my head that is. And then, the months slipped by and
Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything and I wasn't stressed out about doing it either because I had the book to be distracted with and like the final like editorial throws. Um, and then the book was out and I still wasn't writing and I was like, oh well, I'll get somewhere eventually. And I recently got to start doing like a workshop with some friends, like bi-weekly. We'll like send
Oh,
drafts
nice.
and then like a couple days after we send the draft, we'll like meet up on a voice call and we'll talk about it. And even if it's
Oh,
like
cool.
a small thing, it's been really nice to like have that kind of pressure to be like, okay, like do a thing, do the thing that you say you're
Yeah.
going to be doing. And then I've had like some other ideas that I've like been spurned to write about recently. In the past few months, I've written a couple poems, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, I think like when you have a book out, it like takes up so much of your energy. You have to be like
Yeah,
sort of, you still have to be like kind of in that place that you were when you wrote that book, even though it was maybe like a year or two before.
yeah,
And it's like
yeah,
difficult. You also have to like, you have to keep reading from it. You have to like keep telling people about it. It's
yeah.
like, it's just as much of a like job as like actually writing it.
Yeah. And then I
Um,
don't know if this has been an experience for you, but like after like finishing the book and after I got like accepted for publication, I like had this like dawning realization of like, oh, I know what a book should feel like now to me. Like I know like what that kind of general structure should feel like
yeah.
with my writing. How do I do that again? How do I ever get there again?
Yeah.
Um,
I've definitely felt that where like before I'd ever written a book, I thought I just couldn't write a book. Like it's I
yeah,
just
I
I
would
don't
just
understand
like,
how anyone could.
yeah,
And
I
then
would
even once I'd
just,
done it, I still felt the same. It's like-
yeah, honestly. No, before Greyhound came about, I'd send manuscripts out to like competition or like contests and whatnot, and it would always just be like one Word document with like the last 30 things I've written in like some order that like I thought made sense, but it was never like a structure. And then like when with Greyhound coming about, I was like, oh, like it can have like its own shape. Like a book can be a thing, an object of sorts. I don't know. I think a
Yeah,
lot
I
about like manuscripts is like, I don't know, what kind of object does this look like? And so like, I don't know, writing a book in the like shape of a transit line made sense for this
yeah,
project. And like, I just have to figure out what the next object is.
yeah. But I mean,
Whatever.
there's no rush.
Yeah.
you I think that like once you've done it, like you basically just like have built up the skills to be able to do it whenever you like need to. Like
Yeah.
whenever you have something that you're like compelled to tell people
Yeah.
about, like you'll be able to do it. And I think there's like no point ever worrying about when it's gonna happen because
Yeah. I
it
have
will.
ideas, but I
Yeah,
don't need, I'm not like particularly rushed to embellish any of them. And a lot of
yeah,
them I like have to do a lot of reading and research for because of, you know, I, I I like to make a big project for myself that is overwhelming and hard to finish.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why
I
not?
don't know. The
I mean,
Greyhound thing
you,
was easy because it just meant I had to like get on buses and go see my friends, which is
yeah.
so hard.
I think that like I don't know. I I've been thinking of obviously I've been thinking about the bus thing because of the book and it just like I've felt like, oh, this is something I do all the time, like
Mhm.
or did, and you know, like this is something that's like in my life. But then I'm like, I don't. It's not really in most people's. Like, it's not
Yeah.
something. It's not like a choice that like the majority of people are making that they like put themselves in that position.
Yeah. Not a lot of people are waking up and thinking like, oh, I can like get on the 13-hour bus to Montreal right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just like feel I really want to be. I want to go somewhere else, and I want like
Yeah.
There's a bit in the book I think where you say like that you like you could sleep on the bus.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sleeping on a bus is like a very particular experience. I feel like people who've done it like know that like it's not like normal sleep.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. It's
yeah.
actually one of my little post-its. Look at
Oh,
that.
nice. Do you
Yeah,
wanna? Would you read something for us?
yeah. I can read that little segment. It's
What
just
page is it? And I'm gonna follow along.
it's page 9. Um,
Okay, cool.
yeah. All
Okay.
right. Falling asleep in cars with strangers is supposed to be bad for you, but everyone tells you to fall asleep when you're traveling from one place to another. The only time I've known someone on the bus with me, we sat in different rows and didn't speak. I sleep best and longest alone. Quiet bed, quiet mind, quiet grave. Bury me in a way where no one can see. Lay me down in an ocean without fishes. When I sleep on the bus, I do not dream, but when I sleep at home, I don't dream either. So what's the point in looking for the horizon from the sweat-stained plexiglass windows if you can't see them from the sweat-stained windows of your bedrooms? I guess we are never strange to the windows and people we have touched our faces against. So this is why we should sleep. It helps to have hope that a horizon is a place you can end up where no one will keep you from waking. Hope is a dream and a person too. Someone named Hope drives a bus, and that bus is full of beds. You stand as you sleep. Once the dead skin of my cheek clings to another by proxy of window pane, their rest is my pillow, my rest will become another's. In old witchcraft, if you had a skin or hair from someone, you could control that person. I know buses are safe zones of magical travel. I have to hope that there is something pure about them. Liminality, the place where the world is and isn't. I drift through upright positions of stasis to transit through myself quicker. I guess that's sleeping through the pain. Eventually, we will all be healed or healthy, or maybe health is just the absence of pain. So when I die, name me healthy, name me purity, transit belly snore, bumpy road. Name me what you wish would wake you after a long road with no dreams, just gas stations for miles. Thanks.
In the book club, whenever somebody reads something from the book, we always like clap
Yeah.
like this for
Because
some
you want to
reason.
make sure someone can see your hands.
Yeah, so I'm doing it now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like we should probably stop talking eventually, because otherwise it'll
Yeah.
be
I
too
mean, it's
overwhelming.
just, it's nice to talk to somebody. I think that
Yeah,
is like, I don't know, a nice experience that you don't often get is like speaking to someone you either haven't spoken to in a while or have never spoken to about any kind of like shared or even tertiarily closely shared experiences. So I feel like we could talk for hours.
yeah, we have so many things in common. Running, dogs, taking buses.
Nailed it.
And
All the
poetry.
things.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm really happy to get to talk to you and to like
Thank
to read
you.
your book, and
Yeah.
yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I think in a week I'll be like, oh, I'm nominated. It's me, and
Yeah.
it's still it'll settle in eventually. But right now it's still just one of those like, oh, that's my name, neat. And then next week I'll be like, that's my name, neat.
I just want, I'm really excited for when you make the acceptance speech.
Yeah, I have to submit it April 1st. So I'm excited to
Okay.
make it and send it and then forget about it and then look at it again in June
Yeah.
to see what
It's like,
decisions I had made.
right. It's so funny. I feel like even if you don't win, like no one would probably even know. So you could just like post your acceptance speech and be
Yeah.
like, so happy or something, and then everyone would be like, congratulations.
Congrats.
And you never found out what like
Thank
the
you.
award was anyway.
Yeah. I mean, all
So
I know is you get a stamp on your book. And
yeah,
I could do that.
right, exactly.
I probably
Yeah, with
shouldn't, but
awards, I feel like with awards, it's like, does this person really get to choose whether or not I'm like better than other people for some reason? But then
yeah.
it's like, but okay, like this is like a cool award, I think, like
Yeah, I
compared
think
to a lot of
so.
them.
Yeah.
So I like actually like care and want you to win.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I will say
Um,
I won't be disappointed if anyone else wins over me. I think all the people I'm a finalist with are amazing writers and have books worth checking out.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that like just being on the list is gonna introduce many more people to your work.
Yeah. And it's always nicer when the people you're nominated with are also cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
truly. Yeah.
It-
Because if they weren't good,
yeah.
you'd be like, now I need to win.
Yeah. Now I'm competitive.
But
Yeah.
as it is, it's like, who cares?
Yeah. Just a joy. Well,
Um,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I guess we're gonna talk about your book on Sunday.
Cool.
And like, yeah, I'm excited to do that.
Yeah.
If I feel like it's weird for the person whose book we're reading to come, because then I don't know how you would, it would be just like a strange
Yeah.
environment. I don't want to say don't come, but you can. I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
If I'm around,
Um,
maybe I'll show up, and if I'm not, that's okay.
yeah.
If
If
anyone
you,
has any questions, they can always reach out to me. I feel like I'm pretty approachable.
yeah,
Yeah.
in my experience so far, definitely. And if you want to come like to join after that, also like just
Yeah.
it does help you read.
Yeah.
We I have read 17 books of poetry that I would not have read otherwise since last summer. So
Awesome.
I can
Yeah.
vouch for it. But yeah, good luck and thank you. And thank you for sharing this profound experience of poetry with me.
Of course.